uniting communities throughout the six. This is Urban Definition with your hosts Sassan, Kareem, and Zayn on CHHA 1610.
Wow, here we are again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Urban Definition. I am joined today by my two co-hosts, Mr. Zayn Jinnah.
Hey, what up, everyone?
And Mr. Sassan Mirzai.
Hi.
How you guys doing today?
Good, man. Good. It's pretty bad outside, but good. How are you?
I am great, only because I have not had to endure this beautiful weather. I'm totally joking. Outside.
Yeah, my phone's been telling me there's sleet, and that was the first time I've heard that word this year.
See, that's it. I was about to. My response to that was going to be, what is sleet?
And it's like snow and rain and ice at the same time.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, well, we're driving this morning was pretty hectic too. Like, some little snow pellets, and there was some slush on the car too, which was pretty bad. So, if you're going out anywhere, be careful, be safe.
That is very true.
If you can avoid it, don't go. Just don't go outside.
This is why I take public transit, by the way. I mean, I was on a streetcar and I had to get off the streetcar because the power got knocked out.
Oh, yeah, that was today, right?
Yeah, that was today.
Yeah.
And I was in a heck of a lot of trouble because I ended up showing up to work like an hour late. But, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, so...
Other than that minor issue, I recommend public transit.
Well, you're probably going to be the standalone there.
I know. So what else has been going on, guys?
Have you guys, been keeping up with the Toronto Union negotiations?
Okay, so from my understanding, there was an issue.
Uh-huh.
We wanted some more rights, and now we're negotiating it.
Essentially, yeah.
I'm totally, yeah. I mean, that's like the code. That's my blanket to cover all labor negotiations.
Well, put it this way: 23,000 workers were affected.
Whoa.
And what's included is childcare, community and fitness centers, rec programs, city-run museums. It doesn't affect emergency services, which is good.
That is very good.
The problem is, there's a lot of people who potentially could have gone on strike. I know there's a work to rule right now, but this affects, people, especially some of our listeners if they work for the city, because they could have been not out of a job, but temporarily not working, and it's pretty hectic. I mean, think about all the child daycare centers, for example. You got parents dropping their kids. If you don't have those centers, who's going to take care of your kids? You got to take time off of work. It's pretty bad.
Now is when I get to say my favorite thing.
What?
This is going to be a situation for scabs. There's going to be scabs everywhere, guys.
I'm confused. What do you mean?
Okay, scabs are basically when companies and stuff go on strike.
Oh.
If you work during the strike, it's kind of going against, your employees and your coworkers. So they refer to those people as scabs.
I didn't know that.
Oh, no, you know?
No, you learn something new every day, right?
I learned that from a movie, actually.
Wow.
I learned it in the Oceans movie, Oceans 13.
I got to rewatch that series.
Wait, so was this because they weren't getting paid for overtime, or why was this happening?
Zayn?
Basically contract negotiations, right? Their contracts are up. They're going to have new deals, a little bit more increases, benefits. I think there was something about the city cutting out benefits. So, yeah, negotiations as usual. But it affects a lot of us. So just be happy that no one's on strike right now. And that's the end of that.
It's true. You know what I love about you, Zayn?
What's up?
I just love that when it comes to just about anything and everything, you're like my information center. On all social media platforms, that's typically where and who I get my information from. Like Zayn's your Facebook is just a plethora of news feeds and information because I don't know about your network of friends.
I got one friend who constantly posts interesting stuff on my wall.
And the thing is, I love it because I have my Facebook set up so that I can only see certain people on Facebook and certain feeds, and I purposely, that's a word, right? Purposely?
Yeah.
Purposely. When I was a kid, I used to say purposefully, but purposely set you so that you're one of the first feeds I see, not because I'm interested in what you're saying, but
Thank you.
because I'm interested in like the one person who constantly posts things on your wall.
Thank you.
Shout out to Ijin.
Yijin Chan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Yijin.
I don't know who you are, but you're a magnificent man. I thank you.
I'll let him know. I'll let him know for sure.
Okay. Well, I usually just get all my news from Google Cards. Like this morning, did you hear that? You know Joey from Friends? He's the new host for Top Gear ever since Jeremy got fired.
Okay, hold on. We have to pause for a second here. When you say Top Gear, are you talking about the US version or the...
Oh, the British version, of course.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that makes it so much more interesting because I hear a lot of critique for the US version. A lot of people say, it's not the same, and Stephen Fry is, the original man. And I must say, after watching both...
Wait, Stephen Fry, don't you mean Jeremy Clarkson?
No.
Oh.
Well, yes, but Stephen Fry was on the UK version as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the only reason I know that is because you and I did a hackathon a few years ago
About Stephen Fry.
about Stephen Fry, and that's how I learned so much about him.
Okay. Well, this is a little related. So, have you guys heard about this this study that came out on Monday? It was about the diversity in film and television.
Yes, but that's only because it is technically my job to know about this kind of stuff and to keep up with that kind of stuff.
I only heard about the Oscars thing, where it's like the Oscars are...
Well, it's all related somehow. So basically, the Media Diversity and Social Change Initiative at the University of Southern California's Annenberg School for Communication Journalism. I had to read that because it is a very long name.
That is a long name.
They did this study. They took, they examined, 10 major media companies, a whole bunch of TV shows, a whole bunch of movies, and what they found was a very small, not really surprising results, I guess, in retrospect, but a very small portion of actors or roles, whatever else, were played by minorities, and a very, very little progress in that sense. And that's something that's obviously related to the Oscars because the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. And one of the authors is calling this hashtag prequel to the Oscars as Hollywood is so white. And I know we're going to touch about that a little bit more with our guest later on.
Which I am so excited for, by the way.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So if you're listening right now, you don't want to miss this later. But one thing that was interesting was, I just want to point this out quickly, some companies, and I'm going to say Disney, for example, because they are in the study that they reported, was doing poorly in film representation, but was doing better with TV and digital offerings. So I think there is a rise somewhere. It's just about people finding that medium. But again, we can definitely talk about this more with our guest. And, if anyone here at home has any thoughts about these things, by the way, everything we've been talking about so far, hit us up on Facebook and Twitter with #UrbanDefinition and let us know your thoughts.
Absolutely. But I did have a question, though, and maybe, Sassan, you could probably tell me. You said there, was it digital contributions?
Digital offerings.
Digital offerings. What does that mean? I've never actually heard that term before.
I would assume it's kind of related to like the Netflix side of things or online streams where they have, how, like, you ever watch Time Play and Cineplex?
Yeah.
Things like that, where that's my guess. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you for sure,
No,
but
that's
that would
okay.
be my guess because digital offerings to me sounds very straightforward with that.
That's very true. It's strange, though, because kind of on the outside looking in, I mean, okay, you take it, when I try to think of things, I think of it, I kind of try to take multiple perspectives. And by that, I mean, I look at it from a parental point of view. And even though I don't have a child, I still try to see it from that view because I think of it as, kind of looking at as, okay, how is this affecting my two siblings, having... Well, Jordan's 3, and Aaliyah is 5. So, I mean, in that, I kind of think about, okay, how is the market kind of adjusting, or how is it affecting these guys? Then how is it affecting our generation? And then how is it affecting, the older generation? And I don't mean anything by saying older here, but it's strange to see how different in terms of the way that everything is marketed towards us, in terms of, how we are the shape that it takes. And I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to talking about this more with our guest, but I'm really interested in more so kind of fixating on where is the market going and kind of what's happening. And is this beneficial or is this detrimental to, not just society, but a global identity?
Well, I guess this is something Sassan can touch upon because with new tech coming out all the time, and Sass, I think you had something to tell us about new tech, right?
Oh, yeah, talking about new tech. Yeah, Sassan, you came in excited tonight to talk about. Go ahead.
It was actually really big. So the anime Sword Art Online, have you guys heard of it?
Yep, I've heard about it multiple times.
Well, IBM Japan is planning on making a Sword Art Online game. And it's really cool because, if for the people who don't know what Sword Art Online is, it's this anime about these kids that buy a virtual reality headset, and the moment you put it on, you lose control of your body. So whatever you try to do, so let's say you try and lift your arm in the game moves, but not your real body. And it has a scanner that scans your face, so basically you're put into the game. And the only way out was to log out. Now, IBM Japan is doing some sort of a clone of this, since we don't have the technology to do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to be setting up scanners in Japan next month, where they're going to scan your bodies, and they're going to put you into the game using Oculus Rift and whatnot.
Wow.
It's really cool.
I think, Kareem, that answers your question. So things are marketed towards us, and they're going to continuously kind of shape how we live.
Yes, but a game like that, is that targeted towards our generation or the next generation?
I think it's all generations, because this anime was from 6-7 years ago.
Okay, yes, in that regard.
So those people are excited, but then the kids now, they're probably watching it. And a movie's also coming out this month, or later this year, actually.
That's true. It's kind of strange, though, because, I mean, is it just me, or does history and fabs just continuously repeat itself? Is that like a thing?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Yeah, it does. It does. I would say so. I mean, you see styles coming back. You see a whole bunch of trends coming back. It definitely does.
Yeah, especially with LG. So, do you guys remember phone blocks a couple of years ago? It was this thing on Kickstarter where you got to build your own phone. Let's say you wanted a better camera, you just buy a bigger one and just hook it up to your phone.
Mm-hmm.
But LG, the G5 is releasing this year, and it basically has a bottom that removes, and you can replace it with bigger camera options or speakers or whatever you're into. It's great. So you're finally getting a phone you can customize for your own personal preference and whenever you need that option.
That's pretty cool. I'd be down to get a phone like that.
I definitely would as well.
I would, yeah.
But we'll talk more about this and with our guest when we come back after this commercial break.
This is Urban Definition. Urban Definition. On CHHA 1610.
Welcome back. Now, before we get to today's guest, Sassan, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about something. And that was, more so about this, exactly what we were talking about, kind of going out into the commercial break, and that was technology. Now, I didn't get a chance to because we were going out to commercial, but I wanted to ask you, you're talking about these fully customizable phones and stuff like that, but aren't these things that are already available? I mean, for me, for example, my eyes currently are set on a phone called the One Plus. and you and I constantly have this debate. But, I mean, it all comes down to marketing, and a lot of these companies kind of, market their products as, this is something that is new. This is something that is not accessibly, or this is not something that's already, in the market. We're the revolution. And what are your thoughts? Do you think this is realistic, or do you think this is just a marketing ploy? Or because for me, you're telling me about these things, and I'm just yeah, but it sounds like so much that's already out there.
Well, the stuff that's already out there is a keyboard that clips in, or like a fisheye lens that clips onto the top. They're not really permanent. But the LG thing and the phone blocks thing was that once you hook it up, it feels like one solid device. It's just a really great tool.
That's true. That's true. I mean, okay, we'll leave it at that. But I see what you mean, and we'll talk about it maybe hopefully later. But I see what you mean.
So right now, everyone, we have our guest with us, Jameel Razack. Before we introduce him, he was born in Scarborough, as you wanted me to tell you all. Shout out to Scarborough. He's got a diverse range of experiences, from music video shoots with a certain local global superstar. I'm not going to tell you the name, but it rhymes with Blake.
Ooh.
He's done several gigs, and right now he's even shooting a pilot for a big company that I'll let him tell you about. So without any further ado, please welcome my friend, Jameel Razack.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Welcome to our show.
Thank you guys. Thank you. I
for
really
coming.
appreciate it. Hey,
So,
came here to support.
tell us a little bit about yourself first that I might not have said.
Sure. Well, I come from Scarborough. I like to rep Scarborough. It's that urban area. But as well, I've been doing acting for well over 5 years for sure professionally. But I've always loved doing it, from drama class to musical theater to, going into actual college and actually, pursuing my acting dream with the ACTRA. And so going forward, I really pushed forward when I saw myself, wanting to be on the stages of, Oscar, or, to really get that kind of feel of not just fame, but really honor that art style and, express things that people aren't really feeling these days. And as well with the way things are going with the world, I really wanted to kind of express myself and get that kind of exposure,
So with a lot of our viewers who obviously can't see you, what's your background exactly?
I'm West Indian, so my mom is from Trinidad and my dad is from Guyana, but I was born in Canada, so, I am Canadian at the end of the day.
And so it begins. All right. Okay, hold on a second. We're going to pause, because I myself am Caribbean as well. And I don't know if you've ever had this debate with anybody, but I don't consider us West Indian. I feel like that represents a very small grouping and demographic. For me, we are one global identity, and we are all Caribbean.
Exactly. No,
Yeah,
that's
you
true.
agree?
I
You agree?
agree.
Okay.
I'm definitely Caribbean. I love being, found as Caribbean, because Trinidad is a Caribbean country, but Guyana is actually South American. So that's pretty interesting to see that, right? That kind of a mix. But for people that are Trinidadian, you're Caribbean, all right? Get that right. But it is in the West Indian area, so I'll let it be for some
It's
time.
not okay. I agree. This, mind you, this is something that I've debated with university professors, my peers, everybody.
You guys really riled up about this stuff.
I do. I am always super riled up about this because I'm so passionate about it. But we're not here today to focus on this. I just wanted to get that little point across about we are Caribbean, not West Indian.
Hey, there you go.
And we don't use, the C word anymore either.
With their connection over here. Look at this.
Oh, man.
But yeah.
I feel it, though. I feel it. Trust me.
That's true. No, I get it. Don't worry. But in terms of you, because you have the very first thing that every casting director or agent looks for, and that's passion.
Hey, thank you.
You said you went to school for it. You said that essentially it flows through your veins.
Yeah, definitely.
But I guess a question because I myself I'm an aspiring actor.
Hey,
if
as
you
we
will.
all are.
As we all are.
An actor with no money yet.
Hey, that's how it starts, man. That's how it starts.
No,
You're
that
not
was
fooling anyone.
that was just straight up shots fired towards me. I get it, Zayn. Don't worry.
Don't worry, I'm an aspiring broadcaster. I know the feeling.
Oh, my God.
But I guess my question to you was, being Caribbean myself, it's a culture that is not always supportive. So did you have to deal with anything like that where you weren't getting support from your family?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
And how
Trust
did you
me.
deal with it?
Oh, to be honest, my parents wanted me to go into nursing and science, right? So coming out of high school, I had to stay back a bit just to get some more credits to kind of get those prerequisites for science. And going from there, I ended up saying, you know what? I want to make my parents happy. I want to be able to see, maybe through their eyes, I can be happy as well. And I went for nursing. I joined the George Brown program to get into it, and then, started my way off in the RN program. And, it was a great experience. My parents are both nurses, and so, to get that kind of feel for it, I was starting to realize it's not something that was meshing with me. It wasn't something that really catered to my dreams or to my happiness, And as well, for my parents, it was like, seeing me kind of diverge from their dream and into my own dream, they kind of lost their kind of hope, right? And so they definitely were against it. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you see me happy, you see me succeeding, that's something you should be proud of, right? And I try to put that on them, but they are from a different generation. So, what they see, they came from a faraway place, to get here and work here and be here and survive here. So.
And you're dealing with, like, the only third one outside of Trinis, Guyanese is Jamaicans.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're dealing with the two...
Yeah, the two big up ones.
The two top ends, if you will.
Yeah.
That's not very uncommon though, because even from my background, East African parents, same kind of thing. There's a vision that they have for you, and if you don't go by it, it's kind of not a letdown, but it's a surprise.
Exactly.
Surprise, but I mean, considering I'm here with you guys, right?
Hey,
so
it's the start. It's the start, man. That's where it is.
So with acting, I mean, I'm kind of interested. So what made you really passionate about it?
It actually came across one day where I was actually watching the Grammys, and I had to turn it off because I'm like, I don't really want to keep watching it if I'm not going to be on there. So really, what really pushed me as a younger kid was that my dad put me on a lot of movies. He put me on Oscars. I would watch it back to back to back, and it was like, yeah, it was great to watch and stuff. But I got to a point where I had enough of it. I really wanted to step myself into that realm and really go for it. Now, obviously, it's a very complex industry. It's a very, very complex industry, especially for, anybody of ethnicity. It's definitely much harder, but at the same time, it's like, it's a good challenge. It's great to see that, there's a lot of people that are overcoming that kind of, diversity and inequality, but as well, like, there's people like Aziz Ansari who started on Netflix with his own, comedy shows.
Yeah, Master of None.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Master of None, right? That was his own script. That was his own pitching because he had a deal prior to that with Netflix for his comedy shows. And so that gave him a good segue into like, hey, this is what the community needs. And to be honest, I love that dull comedy. I love that feeling where I feel like, I can relate to him and definitely relate to his experience in casting and all those auditions,
That's funny though, because
That's how we got the radio station.
well, yeah, but yeah, that's a whole other story. But you brought up a very good point. You segued it in there, but you're Caribbean though. You're not South Asian.
No, exactly.
And yet you just said the person that you were looking up to there was a South Asian.
Exactly.
So, in terms of, this whole differentiating between Caribbean and South Asian in terms of your identity, how does that kind of play out, if you understand what I mean?
You won't believe it. Like, I'll walk into an audition and someone will already assume that I'm Indian. And I'm like, I'm very actually far from that. Not only am I born in Canada, but I'm actually Caribbean. So you may see the first shade of color on me, but at the end of the day, you have to get to know me more to really know that, right? And I think that's a really huge misconception in this industry, but as well in the acting industry, right? Because I look up to anybody that's of color that's really stepping out there and really breaking those boundaries, because I don't care really where they're from, whether they're from India or not, but if they do share that color and share that exposure, that's really good for us as a people. And I definitely fall into that category of being not just a minority, but a person of color,
And that's a great mentality to have. But then, does the industry share that mentality with you?
Man, I wish. I definitely wish. It's been years, but they're working on it. They're definitely doing a lot of things that are implementing, us into the system, but as well, into the actual committees and the people that can authorize those changes, right? With the new changes for the actual community, it's really great. It's definitely really great. I think they're definitely pushing for it, but in terms of America, I don't even know what's going on there,
Well,
that's a crazy thing.
That's a whole other
exactly.
ballpark. I mean,
I need a new segment for that.
yeah, but I mean, like, in terms of, I'm not trying to go into that realm right now, but when it comes to America, that's kind of, for me, I kind of see it more as a world that's driven by fear. And that's in itself is a huge kind of deficit to have to face. But at least with Canada, it's a little bit easier.
Exactly.
A little bit.
I think that's something we'll definitely touch upon as soon as our next commercial break is over, because we're going to go to commercial soon. So we'll definitely, I want to ask you about the whole Oscars controversy and everything about that. So keep it locked at 16:10 a.m. and
No. We still got some time. We still got some time here.
Hey, there we
And
you told me we had a minute.
We do have a minute.
You told me that a minute ago.
All right, fine. You want to get all technical with terms? Yeah, that's true. But before we do go out to commercial break, though, in about 30 seconds or less, I'd like you to tell me about. You were telling me in the green room about a casting call that you had gone to.
Oh yeah. So basically, I walked into the audition and they told me, hey, they're looking at me. I'm seeing the casting director. I'm seeing all these kind of people in front of me, and it's like, hey, like this is great. I'm going through my audition. I go through it. Mm-hmm. Right after that, they asked me, hey, can you do any other accents? I'm like, oh yeah, I can do a British one. And so they went to the British, and then they're like, okay, how about Australian? I'm like, yeah, I can do Australian. And then they were like, okay, how about Indian? Let's just be serious, Indian. I'm like, okay, I'll be honest, I'm not comfortable doing Indian because I don't want to be stereotyped as that person. And so that was like, wow,
Yeah, and the sad thing is, that's the way it works. We'll be back after this commercial break.
This is Urban Definition. Urban Definition. On CHHA 1610.
Well, as my script says, I am supposed to be welcoming everybody back from the commercial break, which was great. Now, back to you, Sass.
Welcome back to Urban Definition. I can't believe you cut me off. So we're here with Jameel Razack, a up-and-coming actor from Scarborough.
Scarborough represent.
Hey.
So we wanted to talk to you about the Oscars and the whole diversity report that came out.
Mm-hmm.
And you know about it, of course.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
So with that and with it being the whole hashtag Oscars so white, hashtag Hollywood so white,
Yeah.
have you as an actor found yourself in those situations? And you gave us an example before we went to break.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found yourself seeing that firsthand?
Oh yeah, all the time. Even like when I'm on set or so, it's like it's pretty wild to see, the kind of treatment you get kind of offered as opposed to someone that is a little bit higher than you or someone that is on a different position. But most times when it comes down to casting, you'll be surprised that a lot of the minority characters get casted under a minor role, even a second role, right? And it's up to the person itself, but as well, it's interesting, right?
It's strange, though, because in that description you just said somebody above you or somebody. But, I mean, and then you kind of said, oh, well, that minorities get kind of placed in
The minor roles.
roles.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's higher than you, though, no?
No, it doesn't. But, in terms of the, when it comes to pay scale, a lead is definitely better than, or a principal actor is better than someone that's a minor or for the day, right? As an actor, right? Because you go from somebody that's performing or extra to performer to actor to a principal. And the principal means you got lines, you got that kind of work cut out for you. And so, seeing the Oscars in those kind of atmospheres, it's pretty crazy. Like, people want to boycott it, right? They want to get Chris Rock into boycotting and be like, hey, don't host it. But you got to realize, like, there's definitely two sides to the story. And I'm a kind of person that wants to be, leveling out all those kind of possibilities. I don't want to just stick to one side and be ignorant. But at the same time, I want to open those opportunities and those mindsets to the Image Awards. There's those kind of outlets where it is for the community of the colored and people that can be represented better, right, as opposed to the Oscars. So
I understand what you mean, but at the same time, with that being said, the Oscars is the platform that that's your goal. You mean you even said in the last break, in the last chunk there, that I grew up watching the Oscars, watching the Grammys. So one might argue, well, why do I have to settle with going to the Colors or, watching the BET Awards or watching even, for example, having to, I'm not knocking it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was able to check out the Black History film festival.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it was phenomenal, some of the films that are on there, but it was it kind of made me realize, and it's like, hold on, yes, we're paying tribute to all of these colored directors, producers, actors, but why does this have to be where we're settling?
Exactly.
Why does it turn into, oh, well, you couldn't get to the Oscars, but it's okay because...
This is better, deal with this, and it's funny that you say that because there was actually an article about the Coen brothers, about their new movie Hail Caesar.
Yes.
And it was talking about how, they got asked, okay, why isn't nobody in color? But you got to realize there's that other side to the story, right, where in their era of the film, there was nobody of color, whether they were slaves or so, and he didn't want that. And so when they asked the Coen brothers, they're like, why should we have people of color, right? And it's like we just want to be reaching out. We want to be able to get out there. And so, I don't know. It's hard. It's definitely hard, but... We gotta come as a group and come as a union together as a colored people to really be like, we don't need the Oscars to represent us as the highest power. You know, that took me years to really grow up and get and understand that myself.
This honestly reminds me of this movie that came out last year. It's the Attack on Titan recreation.
Oh, yes.
It was so bad.
It was.
But mostly because instead of using like the original characters, which were German people and Europeans and mixes of Israelis, it was all cast Japanese.
Yeah.
And they were in Japan, and they added new things, and it just went downhill from there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that movie bombed pretty bad, didn't it?
I was really excited. I love this series. Like, I love the animation. It was incredible. That changed my whole world in terms of like their mindset of storytelling, right? But to see that is like, wow, man. Like, you may have the money in China to kind of build those kind of aspects in those studios, but do it justice.
Yep.
Do it justice, you know?
I 100% agree with that.
So this is something that it's kind of like Hail Caesar, where Hail Caesar is in a time where it was just English people, like Europeans. But then Attack on Titan, they could have done that differently.
Exactly.
They absolutely could have.
Well, then, I guess that kind of brings to another question I had was, you see these roles that should be played by the characters, right? Like Prince of Persia was played by Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, God, yes.
Last Samurai, Tom Cruise.
Oh, don't do that to me now.
So,
Jeez.
and a video I was watching the other day by John Oliver was, how come they don't get people of the ethnicity from these places to play these roles? Like, Gods of Egypt is Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Which is actually very stunning. But you know what? It all comes down to the people who's funding the film, the people who's working with the producer and the director, right? Because at the end of the day, it's your project. Like, if it was myself, I'm gonna be that type of director who, I'm gonna add people of color, but if I have a vision where I see it this way, I want to, forcefully get to that vision. But I'm the type of person that's grown up in this separate generation, so I would want to have multicultural. I want to have everybody from every ethnicity working together, because that's the way Canada is, right? Most of these films these days, like, you'll be surprised, somewhere like Suicide Squad, they had one Canadian in there, where, and that's just because in their laws of agreement to actually film it in Toronto, they have to have a Canadian in there because they're filming here and also getting a tax cut, so they're getting a benefit of the doubt, right? To film cheaper.
So, I guess that brings me to another point I wanted to make, actually. The Canadian film scene, what is that right now, and where is it kind of leading us?
Well, personally, a lot of productions are coming down here, and especially in Vancouver. They've been doing it for years, where they film a lot in Vancouver. So that exposure level for the Canadians is definitely growing. And personally, there's people like Ryan Reynolds, who's definitely outshined for Deadpool, right? So really brought back that Canadian feel. But it's someone like Ryan Gosling who's made a staple of the guy, right? Where every woman kind of loves, and that's a good representation. But then you got to think back to it. It's like, okay, what about the Canadian ethnicities, or what about the Canadians that are still in Canada and not going to LA to do those filming, right? Like, for myself, I remember when I had the audition for Star Wars, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be the chance of a lifetime. This is it. This is the moment in my life.
That is dope, by the way.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was a great experience. You get to see the whole team, and you get to work along with these actual larger actors. But you start to realize they're just doing it because they have to fill their quota. Like, they have to actually cast and audition all over the world, because that's their mandate. But they already had their main actors already in mind and already set out. You know what I mean? So it's like, what is it really then? Don't waste my time. Really just give me an opportunity, or tell me, like, okay, why waste your time casting out there, right?
Yeah, it definitely sucks, because you'll show up to these auditions and all you are is really just the number.
Exactly.
You're just, okay, we need to get this guy. This guy's going to be guy 26, so that, at the end of the day, when I come into my, when I'm trying to do all of my paperwork in the end, I can show audition 26 people.
Yeah, his headshot, everything. Yeah.
Doesn't matter that I only had, I had my guy from the beginning, and, I hired my uncle's cousin's brother's son, but at least I got my numbers filled.
So
Exactly.
what you guys are then saying is that it's not, it's the mentality that people have to change, the vision, essentially, because they'll have to go through this because it's mandated, but then they already knew in their minds what they wanted. So then it becomes a matter of, well, would you say, actually, does it become a matter of changing how you see things? Is that where it is? It's a very basic, like, educational level almost?
Definitely. Like, people need to be more knowledge on, that aspect of, the industry's definitely changing. Like, people were boycotting Star Wars, and the whole aspect of, okay, they shouldn't have a female role, they should have a person of color on there. But they don't even know that J.J. Abrams' wife is colored. She's black. You know what I mean?
I
And
didn't
so
know
she
that.
pushed that forward to be like, we gotta have someone of color. And they already finished. Once they finished their casting their auditions in London, they already knew who they're gonna have for the lead role, right? And so seeing that, it's like you really have to broaden your mindset because they destroyed the box office, and as well, people were worried that it was gonna tarnish the whole franchise of Star Wars, and it didn't. Look
No,
what it did.
it
It blew it up even more.
It made it a great film. I
Exactly.
personally enjoyed that, and I think someone even mentioned, in the Star Wars universe, race doesn't matter. It's all
Exactly.
about us versus the Empire. So
Exactly.
who cares
But-
what you look like?
But
Don't get me into there though. Don't get me to the Empire now.
But you know where race does matter, and I mean this is a completely different context of race right now. I'm talking about RACE.
The
Okay,
movie.
yeah.
Wait, that's
Running?
still.
Yeah, that's all it's
Yeah.
race.
It's
Wait,
still the
that's
same
still.
thing,
That's
actually.
still. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The Oscars are coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and at the end of the day, no matter how many people can criticize it, how many people can say this, say that, it's still an iconic platform.
Exactly.
With that being said, you've been watching it since you were a kid. As you said, who are your picks?
Oh my gosh. I honestly, truly just want to have Leonardo win, and so we can all go to sleep at night. Because honestly, I think, he deserves it. He's breaking barriers already. He's already got a Golden Globe
Yep.
already this year, you know what I mean? So he's doing it. And he's slowly creeping up there. They're going to be like, okay, they're going to have to. If they're not, honor him. Honor him, for God's sake. You know what I mean? Like, jeez.
Oddly enough, he's the underdog.
Yeah, he is. He is. But
The underdog
does.
against who?
I don't know himself, man. He still hasn't won yet. That says
He has
something.
a yacht with a helicopter. I think he's fine, okay? I
But he
think he's
doesn't
good. Yeah.
And everyone else has that Oscar that he desperately wants.
No, for real, that's true.
I'm still kind of upset that is it Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Didn't
not
get
casted.
nominated.
But
No, not cast. Nominated.
Oh, nominated.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. He didn't get nominated, but Sylvester Stallone did.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he's kind of washed up. He had a lead. He had a lead in there, but at the same time, like,
He was
give
not
it
the
to
lead.
the new people. You know what I mean? He wasn't. The Creed movie is about the black character.
It's about
right?
the next step,
Exactly.
And the weird thing is, Creed was not actually written for Sylvester Stallone in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It was written as a fan homage to the movie,
Exactly.
or to the franchise, and then it was picked
got
up and
segued
turned
into
into
it,
it.
yeah.
So it really wasn't supposed to be another Sylvester, another Rocky film. It was supposed to be the transition from Rocky to Creed.
Yeah.
And I mean, the film did a fantastic
I
job
love
of doing
the film.
that.
I love the film. It was a great job.
It was magnificent. I was actually shocked at how good it was. I was
Exactly.
not expecting.
Exactly.
When I heard, Stallone didn't write it.
Mm-hmm.
Stallone really didn't have a role in it until this end where he's just he's really just
Mm-hmm.
not. He's not actually what's the word here? He's not a lead.
No, he's
He's
not,
supposed.
yeah.
He's just a supporting,
Supporting role, yeah, definitely a supporting role.
and he gets nominated.
Yeah, and that's where you get to see. It's like, okay, maybe they're doing this because they actually are trying to just be like, this is all the these type of people against Leonardo, so let's just give it to Leonardo this way. So then next year we can give opportunities for the colored people to actually get an Oscar, because maybe this could be the year, right? That's the way I like to think. I don't like to think that it's just us against them. It's got to be some purpose towards all this, right?
So I think something I want to ask you then is, well, what's your advice then to people who want to get into this industry? Because, I mean, you have advice for Leo to get that Oscar, but do you have advice for people to get into that industry? Because you said opportunity next year, well, at least for the nomination. So how can an up-and-coming actor make themselves known?
Well, hold on. Let's take the next step further here for a second, because you are of Caribbean descent here.
Back
Fine.
to that.
So what I want you to do is I
Put
want
your little spin on it.
I want to hear I want to hear the Caribbean side of it though. I want to hear it because there's really very little representation, and I want to hear your side of it.
Yeah, well, for people of color and people of minority, you already coming into the gate, you feel like, the world's against you, and that's true, because we have so much more to show, and we have so much more talent in our own selves. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you really have to believe in yourself. If you're not driven by your own self, then who's going to believe in you, right? Who's going to really listen to you? You got to set yourself apart from everybody else, and you got to stand alone. And sometimes it's going to be hard. It's going to be years, and it's going to be struggles, but at the end of the day, when you're outsourced to the right place, like for myself, a lot of my work is done by myself. I've looked around, I've networked, I've hustled for that. And people don't realize, if you really want something, you'll do whatever it takes to get there, right? And especially people of color, people of our generation and Caribbean, there's possibilities. You don't have to be that stereotypical role. You don't have to. You do have the opportunity. Everybody has an opportunity here. Everyone has a chance here. And you can be the one to step out and break the ice.
Okay, so I guess my last question then to you for the night, before you step off and walk out into the sunset, what are your parents reaction and I guess their attitude towards, I guess, your career now?
Well, when they actually saw me in Marvin's room, Drake's first music video, they were laughing because I had to slow it down really slow just to see me sitting on a couch, and they were like, they were proud of me. They're like, okay, so there is that kind of outlook to see, and there's that end result. But at the same time, I realize they're more concerned about my future, my financial standards, and they're more happy to hear that I got paid really nice from the gig rather than being like, oh, you got featured probably about a couple seconds in that music video, right? So I think at the end of the day, it's like your parents do care about you and they love you and they just want the best for you.
Thank you very much for coming on tonight, man.
Thank you guys.
Much appreciated. We'll be back after this commercial break.
This is Urban Definition. Urban Definition. On CHHA 1610.
So, welcome back, listeners. And I would like to say that I've enjoyed having our guest on this show so much that I currently refuse to part ways with him. It's not very often that you come across, a Caribbean actor or a fellow Caribbean actor.
Kareem finally feels like he has someone in the world to connect with him and understands him. That's very nice. That's very cute.
You have no idea. I am so happy right now to know that somebody like you exists. I mean, you're so much cooler than me.
Oh, don't say that. No. We're on the same level, man. On the same level, definitely.
But I think, I guess Zayn was going to ask you, but I'll ask you now.
Oh,
How do we keep in touch with you? For the listeners, how are they... like me, I wanna keep in touch. I wanna see where your journey takes you. How do I follow?
What he really wants to know is, can I have your number?
Exactly. Well, I have a Vine. It's called The Real Jameel. It's literally The Real Jameel. And my Twitter is The Real Jmail, so Jmael. And those are really my best ways to kind of outsource and really put some motivation out there, but as well get people laughing and really kind of follow through. I have Instagram, but it's up to people to really follow Instagram. I don't really post a lot. I think I do a lot more with Twitter and my Facebook itself. So Jameel Razack. And if anybody wants to contact me, answer some questions or get a little motivation to go through their dream, I'll definitely offer that. I don't mind.
Awesome. Well, this time for real. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys so much.
It's been an absolute privilege.
I really appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. We'll make sure to post that social media stuff on our Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Right on. And as he walks out here, I will say this as per Zayn's comment there. The back of your head is ridiculous. But yeah. So kind of adjusting now to our next segment, if you will. For those of you who follow us on social media or follow the show's format in general, every week we like to showcase a different artist, typically spoken word, and like today it will be spoken word. And today's spoken word artist is Sabrina Benaim. She's the 2014 Canadian national team slam champion. Sabrina is the spoken word poet who rocketed to fame in the late 2014s. Her most popular piece was called Explaining My Depression to My Mother, which has received roughly about 3 million views to date. The video has sparked hundreds of memes and resonated with people around the world. Sabrina's work floats around the spectrum of love, pain, identity, and Beyonce. Without further delay, I bring you Sabrina's most recent piece, which I will allow to speak for itself.
Somewhere, a girl made of glass just said her goodbyes and turned to leave. She was followed by a boy who keeps a wheelbarrow of boulders in his back pocket. I wish I could tell her, do not let him walk you home. See, it begins with a tap on the shoulder. Lighter than a pebble on a windshield splinter. He reminds her it is not safe to walk alone at night. She thinks, oh, what a soothing voice you have. He thinks the better to lure you to bed. Dear girl, do not fall for this hypnosis. As romantic as rocks tapping at your window, he smiles, revealing 2 rows of bricks. She thinks, oh, what nice teeth you have. He thinks the better to eat you. Dear girl with body of glass synagogue, that boy wants to digest you into a junkyard of recycled glass bodies. The thrill of your scratch crusading down his throat wets his wild wolf whistle. That boy will use his boulders as flint. Set up camp in your garden, do not invite him inside. He will only decorate your love's interior, leaving ash and unswept shards of your self-esteem. He will tell you you don't have enough furniture, not enough places to sit, as if a floor was only made for standing. As if an empty room is not enough for a person. Do not bless his soul with your blood when you fracture under his feet. Mazel tov. When that boy hands you a drink, a vial of magic potion to polish you translucent so he can see right through you, so he can see himself inside of you, dear glass girl. No amount of Windex will wipe his handprints clean. She thinks, oh, what big hands you have. But he thinks better to hold yours down, no? Becomes a renegotiation of terms, a rocking teeter-totter of resistance, but his boulders weigh more than your glass. Smash. Do not waste time sweeping the mess. Instead, dress your cracks in gold. You are not a honey jar in the hands of a hungry beast. You are not an hourglass wasting time on boys who break things to feel powerful. Dear girl, you are stained glass mosaic, prism of unapologetic shine. Your body is an accidental instrument of light, illuminating backbone, glowing electric. Reinforce your reflectors. You do not need to be the example of how easy it is to break. You are not alone. Tonight across this country there is an army of bulletproof glass girls walking home as if walking into war, armored with keys between their fingers and pepper spray in their palms, tucking themselves in safely and considering tonight another battle won. Hi, I'm Sabrina Benaim. This piece is called Glass Girl. It speaks to the experience of walking home alone at night as a woman.
Welcome back. As I'm sure you were able to learn, the name of that piece was Glass Girl. Now, to recap what we've talked about so far, we went through Toronto union negotiations, the national budget, Oscars, the weather, LGG5, and that new Sow game.
For those of you listening, if you have any thoughts about it or you want to interact with us or anything, visit first of all our website, urbandefinition.ca, and there you can find our links to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and just use the hashtag #UrbanDefinition, and you can definitely interact with us, talk to us, let us know what you think, and hopefully we can give you a shout out on air.
It's crazy how the form of radio has changed from 10, 20 years ago, that now we're talking on the radio, and there's so many more platforms for us to continue. Because, we're only on the radio. We only have this show Wednesday nights. But there's so many outputs and outlets for us to be able to communicate with fans now. I'm sorry, I just had to mention that because it's not baffling, but it's just amazing. It's great.
It's a beautiful thing for sure, and I really love that because you get to be on a more personal level with these people.
Yeah, and be sure to find our social media at urbandefinition.ca. And before we go, I would like to thank our guests, Jameel Razack and Sabrina Benaim. They were just great.
They were good. I learned a lot from Jameel. I didn't really know. I didn't even consider.
I'm still kind of giddy about it, but I'm so glad that we were able to bring him on today because there really is very little representation for Caribbeans. Shout out to, Jay Martin and, Frankie Trix, who, Trix is not really Caribbean. He's more so African, but you and I went
Shout
to
out
see him.
to East Africa right here. Yep.
But yeah, it's crazy because we are really, at the end of the day, we're a community, and it really is nice to come together sometimes.
Yeah, I think that speaks to a large narrative. At the end of the day, we're people, man, and we have to look out for each other. Because if we don't, then no one wins, and it's a short life. Why don't we all try to help each other a little bit more?
That's true. So what are you guys doing this week?
What was I gonna do this weekend? I'm free.
Are you? You're not going to any events?
No, I'm actually free this weekend. I'm gonna sleep all day, Saturday, Sunday.
I curse you.
Yeah.
This week is nothing but I'm so busy this week. I have so much to do. I have to go to, I'm going to an art gala that I got invited to, and I'm going to a couple other events, which if you follow me on social media, I'll definitely shout them out. But I'm like nonstop chaos. Like tomorrow I got a meeting with, well, not even a meeting. I got a session with my workout, with my personal trainer. And no, I found him on an app called Whisper, to be honest. And he's the dopest guy on the planet. Shout out to
Nothing
Devon.
could sound more sketch than this.
I know, right? I found him on an app. I found my personal trainer on an app.
Sass, what's your weekend?
Oh, no, I was going to say that I dislike Kareem for having this personal trainer because he missed one of our meetings because of him. How could you do that?
I'm sorry. I mean, what can I say? I had to get this beer belly, or as our guest might call it, medal belly. I needed to get medal belly dong, boys. I needed to get ready.
Sassan understands that very well now, doesn't he?
Oh, God.
I already started getting ready for Carnival, yes?
Already?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for tuning into our show. Be sure to get us on our social media platforms at urbandefinition.ca. And thank you.
CHHA.
This is Urban Definition.